everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War, Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around, we are playing as the Norscans against the Tomb Kings, and you can see here, we have brought good old Throgg. I've been waiting for a matchup to use him. I finally decided, you know what, we'll give it a shot against the Tomb Kings. He could be pretty cool here. Normally I definitely roll with Wolfric, but I've just been wanting to give give the King here a chance, and so that's what we built around. So with the idea of fighting Tomb Kings, I figured there needs to be something to clear the chaff, there needs to be something to clear monstrosities, there needs to be something to shut down a powerful backline. So I brought a little bit of everything to shut everything down. Now we don't have magic, which is something a lot of players would say is a bad thing. In this situation, I figured it's worth risking, that I can get by without magic. Perhaps a Fimir caster with fire would have been nice, but it would have been very rather expensive, so and I would have had to sacrifice a Werkin. So as we go over this build, you can see I did bring Throgg. He does have Copious Vomit, he does have Fight or Die, he does have, he does Fight or Die, and Foe Seeker. Of course, he's got monstrous HP pool. He is susceptible to fire, which sucks a little bit, but with his monstrous anti-large bonus of 28, his solid melee stats, he does have Frostbite. I figured, you know, he's going to be a decent counter to a lot of the Tomb King's sort of monsters rampaging in my backline, especially when he's working with 2 Skin Wolf Werkin. Even if my opponent brings, say, a Sphinx of Usef or a Hyro Titan, I'll be able to mob it and take it down. The 2 Skin Wolf Werkin are actually also pretty potent units. One of them here is coming in with the Ruinous Flesh, is actually the other one here, but either way, Ruinous Flesh does provide a bonus to armor of plus 18, which is going to be pretty solid for both of them, and it does provide plus 11% missile resist, which is pretty decent against the shooting that Tomb Kings can bring. A lot of shooting. They're a faction I think a lot of people just ignore the shooting potential, but they can bring a lot of shooting. And of course, both Werkin have AP and anti-large, so that's pretty potent. And once again, against Tomb Kings, that can be invaluable, especially as the rest of my army is not as oriented against armor as them. Frontline composed of Marauder Berserkers, intended to chop through chaff. Of course, Marauder Berserkers, as well as the Brutes of the Hound here, should be able to outtrade Tomb Guard pretty decisively. They will definitely trash Skeleton Spears, Skeleton Warriors, King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion, probably Tomb Guard with Halberds. All of those units should get dumpstered pretty quick. They are backed by the Maws of Savagery, which are the Armored Skin Wolves, Regiment of Renown. They are very potent, of course, because they've got armor piercing. Their stats for damage are flipped. They've got 39 AP, 24 weapon damage, rather than the usual 39, 24. So, although I do believe this is with Frenzy, so it's slightly lower normally, but still pretty potent. Decent charge bonus, of course. They can Vanguard, which I didn't make use of here, but otherwise just a decent unit. This is another sort of anti-large counter I did bring. 2 units of Norscan Ice Wolves to shut down the enemy backlines. These guys are large, so you have to be wary of spears and halberds and units like that, but I figured, you know, with their Frostbite effect, they can slow enemies down, they can jump into the backline, they can tie down Ushapti Great Bows, tie down Skeleton Archers, chase down Skeleton Horseman Archers, that sort of stuff. Would be very useful that way. Single unit of Mirage Spearmen just there as an extra sort of chaff unit. There's nothing special about these guys. They're kind of trash. They're cheap. They've got a bonus versus large. They're basically slightly better than Empire Spears without shields. They do have the rage mechanic, of course, so they're decent, but nothing spectacular. Then 2 Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, providing some AP ranged fire. Once again, if my opponent went really heavy in the construct play, and you can see I'm already pulling them out here around the flank, trying to sneak around. Now you can see my opponent here firing some volleys into me. And I do actually manage to juke most of the shots with Skin Wolf Werkin, so showing some moves there. But my opponent will shortly wisen up and start pecking away at the Maws of Savagery. Fortunately for my opponent, though, he does make a slight mistake, and we'll go over the army in just a split second, but he actually pushes Lich Priest of Light out into the open here. Not entirely sure what he was thinking, but he gets jumped by the Hounds, and that is a very bad situation. The Hounds will start chipping away at him and eating his guts pretty quick. Or I guess not much. He doesn't have much in the way of guts, but, you know, they're chewing on him. Look at these puppies. Look at them. They're all, like, glowing and weird, and they don't really have much fur. It's like I don't even know what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a sheen of snow or ice or something. I don't know. But either way, for my opponent's army, a front line of mixed of Tomb Guard, King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion, 2 Spearmen, so pretty chaff heavy, but capable of holding for a little while. Backed by the Blessed Legion of Demonetization, 2 Skeleton Archers, 2 Tomb Guard with halberds, so quite a bit of anti-large. Once again, probably assuming I'm going to bring Mammoths, Fimir, that sort of stuff. So I think it's one of those things where both sides have to bring quite a variety of forces to deal with things. These Skeleton Archers would be great against Marauder Berserkers. They'll be great against the Marauder Horsemen here, and they're already mowing them down pretty decisively. There are also 2 Ushapti Great Bows in here, who are providing some AP range. Once again, good against Mammoths. And of course, none of these units are going to break, so they're going to be a little more potent than, in some ways, they're going to be a little more potent than other halberds would be against mammoths because they don't get tear outed. Regardless, the Maws of Savagery, although heavily beaten up, are going to dive into these Ushapti here. They should trade pretty well. You can see the Ushapti's superior mass come into play there. That was a little odd lag spike. I don't know what's been happening. Been having that happen with replays lately. But the Ushapti should lose this pretty decisively because the Maws of Savagery have far superior stats. The Ushapti are not men against large. But nonetheless, you can see definitely that charge, the superior mass in the Ushapti just sent these guys flying. But in the long, Atricious Hall, and also Savagery should come out on top. My opponent does have a Tomb King hidden here in the trees, who is now pulling out to go help his Lich Priest. He does get a lovely little charge there, kills a few Norscan Ice Wolves, but you know what, I was really focused on Lich Priest. I want him dead. I didn't want Lore of Life, especially the... interestingly enough, my opponent actually brought the spell that gives him Unbreakable, which is interesting, but I really didn't want my opponent getting use of the Met. I didn't want him interfering with me like that, so I was hell-bent on keeping him tied down. In the meantime, you can see the heals are going down, and this is going to make it actually tough for the Berserkers to chew through this front line. They can dumpster some of these squishier troops, but especially against the Tomb Guard, who are getting these heals now, it's going to be rather difficult. But you can see I do manage to surround some Ushapti Great Bows here. I get the ones of Savagery on them, and these guys are not going to last very long at all. They're getting chopped up to bits. I do pull the Marauder Horsemen away, right as the Tomb Guard with halberds come in. And then pulled the Maws of Savagery away once again, switching targets back to the Ushapti. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. Definitely taking some losses here and there. Not trading ideally with Ushapti, but you know what? I'm keeping my opponent busy. And that's really what matters. You can see over here the hero Goon Squad gets on top of the Ushapti Great Bows and is beating the snot out of him. And my opponent just doesn't have the capacity to cover all his angles. You can see my spear sneaking around. Berserkers breach the front. My opponent didn't get to use his archers against the Berserkers because he was so busy being tied down, so busy trying to deal with my shooting. My Marauder Horsemen are here peppering away at these Ushapti Great Bows. I'm not really using them in the best manner, but now I'm going to shift their targeting onto the Lich Priest here, trying to bring him down. But my opponent has just had a very difficult time. I keep bouncing my units around. Now I get my Wolves here on top of the Archers, melting them away. And you can see I push the Berserkers through. I'm trying to force path them into the... I don't care about these Ushapti. I want to deal with these Skeleton Archers. These Ushapti will wither on their own. In the worst case, Throgg can handle them. But what really needs to go is this front line and this back line of Archers, because they still have a lot of ammo. They still have a lot of damage potential against my relatively squishy force. In the meantime, though, although my opponent did get a single net off, his Lich Priest did go down. And you can see the Goon Squad here just running away, running for dear life from these Tomb Guard halberds as the spears are engaging on them and doing their very best to tie them down. You can see these guys they actually look kind of cool. Kind of crazy, but either way, they're doing their best to tie these Tomb Guard down. They're not going to do well, but it's just a time down. Over here, I do actually throw the Norscan Ice Wolves into the Ushapti. You might be wondering why. Norscan Ice Wolves are large. Ushapti have a bonus versus large, so I figured, you know, they'll have a bit of a harder time against the Ice Wolf than it would against the Berserkers. So I'm trying to kind of melt through this blob. You can see these Marauder Berserkers. A few of them did break clear. They're cleaving through these Blessed Legion here. The Wolves are in there. And the front line is buckling for my opponent. At this point, it's a really good game. You can see over here the Tomb King has been hit. Unfortunately, my Lords and Heroes were refusing to get a good surround on him. But you know what? He's not having a good day. It doesn't matter. Throgg's finally going to get in contact with him a little bit. And that's going to be a good game for the poor Tomb Kings there. As my opponent's army is basically crumbling, he does decide to GG out. So that major mistake with the caster definitely cost my opponent dearly. It allowed my Goon Squad to run rampant in the back line. And that was really, I think, a key decision there for me. Running amok in the back line, disrupting my opponent's shooting, and my opponent not focusing fire on my Berserkers. Because the Berserkers were left to do their bloody work, they were able to cleave their way through the Skeleton Spears incredibly quickly, cleave their way through the Tomb Guard, and ultimately just kind of collapse on the back line. The Ushapti summon came way too late to really stop that. The Ushapti Great Bows didn't actually get much work done. They were constantly being hounded. They were getting shut down by Marauder Horsemen. My opponent didn't have enough backline coverage to stop all of these troops running amok. And so I was able to, between the Maws of Savagery, and honestly, the Maws of Savagery didn't do that great, for example, but they were bouncing around. Marauder Horsemen were bouncing around. The Norscan Ice Wolves dove in. They were all just a constant source of harassment. So there were multiple units bouncing around that my opponent just could not shut down. All the while, the Berserkers were slowly but surely chewing their way through the front line. And basically, my opponent was on a timer. He needed to be killing things efficiently with his shooting before his front line collapsed. And that simply didn't happen because his shooting got overwhelmed. I do think this is a decent build against the Tomb Kings, because it does give you basically coverage against anything they might bring. Obviously, it's a little susceptible against the fire damage sort of stuff, but there's not much you can do as Norsca to avoid that. Most of your armor-piercing solutions or anti-large solutions are susceptible to fire. Not too much you can do about it. For my opponent's build, I don't think the build itself was necessarily that bad. I just think the deployment was poor. I also think that perhaps the multiple Ushabti with great bows might have been a little bit of a mistake. It might have actually been better for my opponent to just bring multiple normal Ushabti, use them to stiffen up the front line. And let's say I had brought a bunch of Fimir units like that. Honestly, he could have just used Tomb Guard. could have used his archers with just massed fire with Blessed Legion of Demonetization. Bring some better support spells on his Lich Priest and get more value that way, I think. I think that would have been in general a better choice for dealing with my army. Because if he was able to break the Berserkers apart with the help of the Ushabti, he would have then really this army wouldn't have been able to hold up the mob of infantry. The Tomb Guard, the Skeleton Spears, honestly, they would wear the Werkin down, I think, over time, especially if they were getting bogged down. Like I really do think that my opponent simply needed to go wider. Some more Skeleton Spears, probably drop at least a unit of Ushabti Great Bows, maybe get another unit of Ushabti in there, something like that, but definitely go wider. Nonetheless, good game to Genic Cab. I'm probably butchering it. I don't know what it's supposed to, if it's supposed to be, or if it's just a random. I might be missing something. It's a little late in the night, but either way, good game. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do hope you found it entertaining. Hope it gave you some ideas on this matchup. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe below. If you have any comments, any criticisms, anything like that, be sure to share them. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.